Hey everybody, Todd here. Welcome back to another Wellness Talks Brief. Today I'm going to be walking through digital anxiety, what it is, why we do it, and different ways to possibly get out of doing just that. Values-based, so stick around and check it out. So it's a common theme that we're spending too much time on our digital devices. Cell phones, iPads, tablets, computers, laptops, televisions, virtual reality. These are fascinating little gadgets. I love them. I'm playing with one right now. But as I think you'll see in a moment, if we take something like this, which is actually meant to enhance our life, and we begin to utilize this as a way to escape, to avoid, or to control some aspect, some sensation, some memory, some emotional state that we don't want, we begin to set up an unworkable situation. We actually begin to feed into the thing that we're most likely trying to get away from. Or we add a completely different problem on top of that problem that we already are dealing with. So let me just say that, like I said, the electronic components that are out there, they are awesome. They're actually making what I'm doing here right now possible. They actually make my private practice so much easier. Everything is digitized. All my medical records are electronic. The people that I work with can go online and they can request and schedule and see all their information with me. It just makes it working. I don't actually have to hire somebody to do all that paperwork and all that administrative components. Technology gives us that. Technology gives us the ability to see what's happening up with high and low tides. So can I take the kayak out? Can I get out there and enjoy myself? The technology has also allowed me to reconnect to old friends and family. It's allowed me to actually keep long distance relationships going with family members or friends that don't live in my proximity. It allows me to stay in touch with my mom, my dad, and my brother, people who are important to me. It also helps me to communicate quickly with my wife so that we know what we need to get for dinner. So there are lots of advantages for why technology is useful. And in those situations, they are useful. Now, I'd argue in those situations, those are all tied to a greater value, something that's important and brings meaning into my life. And it's not to say that playing a video game or watching a movie isn't meaningful, especially if it is a movie which is moving and gives you something and allows you to grow, or just allows you to completely unwind and get some energy back. This would be that whole play domain I talk about in other videos. So while the technology is good, here's where we get in trouble. So the behavioral loop, inside of the life map, I have a small component, the behavioral loop. This is what we tend to do. We have memories, and we have sensations, we have schemas, and we have just all kinds of emotional turmoil sometimes that bubbles up, shows up, it gets activated, maybe you could utilize the word triggered. Something's going on, and sometimes we don't even know why. Because emotions, well, they come and they go, oftentimes of their own accord. We don't really know why. Actually, that's a trap in and of itself, is getting caught into the why do I feel like this? Maybe you just feel like this. But that's for a different time. When we have these experiences, though, they aren't necessarily, they're not pleasant. They're distressful. They're stressful. And we don't like them. Maybe it actually is something that we have to do. There is a paper that I need to get done. There's a project that I need to work on. So there is pressure for us to perform. And maybe we're afraid that we'll fail or that we won't do it good enough. So we've got all these underlying components going on. And what do? Is we tend to try to escape, to avoid, or to control whatever it is that's going on internally. Oftentimes, we try to do this externally. So for instance, how often is it when you're dealing with something that's bugging you that you'll pick up your cell phone, start browsing through Facebook, looking through YouTube, start watching a movie, start watching a television show, whatever it happens to be. Now, once in a while, as a coping mechanism, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're under a lot of stress, you've been going at it for an hour or two, and you need to give yourself just a little break, stepping away from it. That's a function that's useful, that allows us to move towards a sense of balance. Maybe that would be the value, balance, serenity, whatever it happens to be. And sometimes, if we procrastinate, because this is where procrastination happens, we end up with a different problem, or we end up with a problem on top of the problems that we already have. This is a hopeless circle. This is a behavioral loop. Now, a lot of things that we'll do would be to, we'll go and get a snack, we'll eat too much, we'll go and we'll drink. If you're a smoker, you go and smoke. If it's pot, you'll go smoke pot. We'll use drugs, we will use work. We will go throw ourselves into our workout at the gym. There's a lot of things that look healthy, but if we're using them to escape, avoid, or control consistently all the time, that becomes a problem. Now, the beautiful thing, or the dangerous thing about technology, is that now it's in our hands. It's right there. And so it's super easy for us to fall into that, because in this little portal device, I can jump into a million different places. I can escape away. I can avoid what I need to get done, and I can control, I can squash down the sensations, the memories that I'm having, throwing myself into this other world, this other place. And if I do that too often, then I begin to have increasing levels of digital anxiety. So how do we get out of this? Notice what you're doing. Now, this whole concept applies even to mindfulness. If I'm utilizing mindfulness, if I'm meditating to escape, avoid, or control, to suppress thoughts, feelings, whatever it happens to be, same problem. I could end up doing that whole behavioral loop. These are short-term goals that in the long term don't make my life meaningful. So what I first have to do is have an awareness. And a lot of times that is developed by practicing a mindfulness practice of some kind. It doesn't need to be sitting on a pillow. It could be as simple as, while you're walking, paying attention to 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you smell. Just pay attention to your senses. Notice when your mind jumps around. Notice when your mind's thoughts come crashing back in. Practice noticing when your mind shifts tracks from one topic to the next. This is an important component. But you have to have the second component on top of that, and that is a value. Why? What matters? What do you want your life to be about? When you look back on yourself, what made it matter? Was it your integrity, your word? I said I'd get this done, and so I did. And we'll stick with that. Integrity will be a good one to play with, but it can be anything. It could be strength, it could be vitality, it could be love, it could be intimacy, it could be compassion, whatever it happens to be. But let's come back to integrity. You said you're going to get this thing done, and now you're stressed about it. You're blocked. You can't quite get through. Well, if you can remember and see what's actually happening, pull yourself away from it. Notice that loop. Notice what you're doing. Notice that if I keep jumping up and I keep escaping, avoiding, and controlling, then it's going to cause me even more problems, because I'm not actually doing anything to move in a direction that will matter. So what do I need to do? Well, integrity would be ask for some assistance. That would be an action, a value-based action. Or go online and find an outline of this. Or reach out to whomever and say, hey, I'm stuck here. Can you give me some suggestions? Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to look like you're failing. So then the big question then, when it comes to a values-based action, are you willing to experience the memories, the sensations, the rules, the tools, all the frustration? You've done this before. I'm sure there's been times in your life where there was something that needed to be done. You could feel physically, palpably, the pressure from it, and yet you did it anyhow. So there it is. There's what digital anxiety actually is. It's a way to escape, to avoid, and to control. And it's not just with our technology. It's not just the digital component. But I thought I would address that because this has come up over and over and over with people that I speak with on a daily basis. So I thought I'd put this one out there, and I hope this was useful for you. And please remember to subscribe if you haven't below, and come on back and check things out. I try to put a new video up each week. Until the next time, may you be well.